Welcome to Eye on the Illini. It's live after the game. Illinois falls to Alabama 100-87 in a game that featured a lot of things. Brad, you've been covering Illini basketball like Ked for over 20 years. What are your initial thoughts on this young team playing a team as tough as Alabama, essentially on the road this early? And what did you think of the performance?
You know, a lot of people will say there's no bright spots. I actually saw some bright spots. Many of the bright spots were not on the defensive end of the floor. They were not good defensively. I guess you do see it, though. I mean, you see what they can be offensively. They took a lot of bad shots, and they missed free throws. And yet, you know, they still were down. They got within 8 there and had opportunities. I mean, if they're 17 of 24, which would have been the percentage they're shooting coming in, you know, you start getting that you're within 4 at that point. You know, so I think there's some positives there. There's some things that they did well. They have to get a little better at taking care of the ball and taking good shots on offense. But defensively, it's kind of a crapshoot. Now, here's my problem, Mike. I got to ask this. What do we always talk about with Illinois? It's analytics. I wrote stories about analytics, right? Here's what Alabama did. They took 34 threes. They took 34 shots at the rim. They took seven jumpers outside, not at the rim or, you know, and they literally made, and 3 of them were in the paint, and they made 6 of those 7 twos, in addition to taking 50% of their shots from 3, 50% blank. What happened to Illinois going over the top of screens? What happened to Illinois forcing guys into taking tough 2-point jumpers? What happened to all those things that they preach and want to do? They didn't do them. I mean, the things they try and do in offense, they let Alabama do to them. Alabama had them spinning in that first half. They were chasing guys. They were on tails. I thought they got better in the second half, even though Alabama still scored 48 points, but I thought it was better. But still, they let them do. There was no imposing their will. There was no defensively. There was no staying on tails. There was none of that stuff happened, you know, going over screens, none of that stuff. They might have been better off just going under screens. I mean, it was really pathetic because they had no game plan. It appeared they had no game plan, or they cannot execute said game plan.
Well, I'm not going to bore our listeners. I'm taking a deep breath, and I'm just going to take a different approach. And because this show will probably be 35 to 40 minutes, I want to talk about free throws. 13 for 24 from the flipping free throw line. I mean, on top of the fact that you gave up 100 points, and here's the one well, there's more than one positive. They scored 87 points. Okay, that is a positive. I mean, you know, regardless of how you look at it, but they gave up 100. So I don't need anybody texting me and calling me, kid, they gave up 100. I can see that. Okay, I have 2 eyes. They still work. The issue is you left points on the board, and I'm going to tell you, this team's youth showed to me tonight. There was times when they cut the lead, they got it to 8. They were looking, and I'm not going to single a little kid out, at least during this segment. I'll probably lie and change my mind in a couple of minutes. But there was one kid who was looking for the home run 8-point basket. There's not one. If there's an 8-point basket that you can get in bitty basketball off the Y, junior high basketball, high school and college, I don't care. They have to understand time and situation. And I know in the back of the coach's mind, they're thinking, gosh, this wouldn't have happened before. They're going to have to bite their tongue, and they're going to have to force them to understand situations. Teams are going to go on runs. And they did that. But Illinois just let them go on runs, and then they did something stupid. You can't make a pass that's not going to be there, that's going to make an ESPN top highlight. I don't want to see that. And great if you're up by 20 points, but I want to see the pass that's going to get you 2 points. And I want to see guys make free throws. I'm telling you right now, I know last segment, Mike, you said there was 1,500 people, 1,100 listening at halftime. I will go out tomorrow. Anybody could get me into a gym tomorrow, give me 15 free throws. I'm guaranteed I'm making 12 of them, and I haven't shot them in 10 years. I'm telling you, I'm going to do it.
Sorry. Well, we will get that together. We'll call it the Illini Guys Kedrick Prince NIL fundraiser, and we'll go out. We'll go out and have you do that. But I will tell you, there was a few things that really stood out to me. One is Illinois got the whistles on the road tonight because they got the free throws, and I thought I think Illinois is starting to get that respect that you get when you win games over a period of years. I was excited by a few performances. Will Riley, I thought, was good on the offensive end, and I do think Jacusionis was good. Boswell played a better second half. I'm still a little worried about Humrickhouse, and I have to be honest. I was expecting higher things of Trey White. And I'm not trying to go at anybody here, but there's a lack of confidence right now. I think he's a better player than what he's showing, and Ty Rogers, could get more rebounds. I wish Trey would just let it go and not worry. I don't know. He didn't play horrible, but he just doesn't have that swagger that I expected a guy who started at two universities.
I thought he was pretty bad, Mike. I mean,
yeah. I'm trying to be positive here.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought he really struggled. That's why he only got 16 minutes. And I just don't. Here's the thing. His problem is he's not being what he needs to be. Defend, rebound, attack the rim when you get a closeout, knock down a wide open shot when you get it. We don't want him forcing shots off the dribble. They don't want him, not defending, not rebounding, turning it over. Just all those things that he did tonight. He just didn't do what he really. I thought Humrickhouse. I think sometimes with Humrickhouse, if we start looking at him, it's like every game he puts up. He is what he is. I think sometimes I think a lot of the hype around him has skewed people's expectations. But he scored 14, 15, 10, and 11. I mean, I think that's if you get that from a guy who has never played at this level in his first 4 games, I think that's okay. And so that there's some good things I think there. I think, I thought in the first half, I thought that Illinois really got punked in the first half. I thought Ivasic, I know he had 7 points, but I thought he wasn't very good in the first half. Will Riley got punked in the first half. Trey White, go down the list. Boswell didn't look good in the first half. Humrickhouse wasn't good defensively in the first half at all. Kerry Booth went in just as bad. I thought overall, Merez tried to battle, but he's a walking foul right now. But we knew that, right? He's a freshman big man. That's what they do. I thought in the first half they just got completely punked. They were overmatched. And Jacusionis, I thought he did a great job of keeping them in the first half with his 13 points and being more assertive offensively. But in the second half, then I think Will Riley adjusted to it. And that's the future for him. If Will Riley plays like he did in the second half and Boswell plays like he did in the second half, and they can get the other guys, to start clicking a little bit, this team's still going to be really good. I mean, Gibbs Lawhorn is an instant offense guy. He missed a lot of shots tonight, a lot of good looks, shots at the rim, shots, open jumpers. I feel like, there's a lot of guys. I think Ivasic is eventually going to make shots, right? I mean, he has to. I mean, there at some point he's got to make those wide open threes that he makes every day in practice. So, in the second half, he had 7 points and 8 rebounds, and that's more on the pace that you want to see from him. So I thought the second half showed me a lot more from this team that they battled, but at the same time, they still have to guard better. And they have to make, like Ked said it best. There were guys hunting shots at certain times. And I'll be honest with you, I want Will Riley to hunt shots a little bit. I really do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also don't want. There's some guys I don't want hunting shots, and so it is what it is.
Okay. Well, you mentioned Trey White. He's pressing, and this isn't the first time. This is Division I basketball, and I don't want to say starting doesn't matter. It does, but it doesn't. I want to see more. I personally want to see more Will Riley. I really do. I think if you got a couple donuts, cupcakes, whatever you want to call them on the schedule, Perez needs those minutes. Because I've said before, the lack of minutes that he receives is going to bite him in a game like this. The foul that he had at the free throw line, it was a foul. And if you play him enough, those things don't happen because the other guys are starting to figure that out. Will Riley is a bucket getter. And I'm going to tell you what's impressive about him. Most kids who reclassify stink when they play at the Division I level. He doesn't. They don't make it. They don't pan out. And he is. I don't care what he looks like. The kid is confident. And Brad mentioned Ivica. I'm going to tell you that I think potentially right now, if I'm an NBA guy, the two guys I'm looking at right now is Ivica and Will Riley right off the bat. Kasparis has it. He doesn't understand time and game management situations yet. That's going to come with him. Teams are always, we've talked about it before, they're going to pick him at half court because he becomes careless with it. That he needs to work on, and I'm sure he will. And it's not time to panic. Again, you were in Birmingham, Alabama on the road to a team that just got beat by Purdue, and you had a chance to win. And I don't say anything about this FT stuff again, but you got to make them. And they did fight the second half. We talked about at halftime, Mike. Come out and show some fight in the second half. Act like you know that you're one of the best teams in the country. And I think they did that.
It was a 15-point difference. Let's face it. You know, they were down 14 in the first half, and they were up 1 in the second half. And Brad talked about it. You know, if you had a decent first half, then all of a sudden you're in a game and you have a chance to sneak one away. The concern that I have, and this is a little bit of a broken record from last year, but when I see the shots, you know, struggling a little bit, that scares me. And I really, like you, I hate to see the free throws do that. Brad, there were several loose balls that Alabama got. Do you take a lot out of that? How do you look at that?
Well, the first half, they beat him to every loose ball. I mean, that's what they were doing. And so I totally agree. But in the second half, I thought Illinois was better at getting to those loose balls, and that's why they were able to compete better in the second half. And the first half, though, there'd be a long rebound. Alabama sprint to it. They get to it. I thought Alabama looked so much faster. Now, yes. A lot of people are going to say, here's the problem. Everybody says, well, it's because they're so much more athletic, so much quicker, and they probably are. But here's the deal. When you cut with the purpose, you know what you're doing. Illinois guys, they don't even half the time know where they're going, it doesn't seem like. I mean, they're not used to playing together like the Alabama guys are. And so that'll get better. They'll learn to cut back door. There was one play in the first half, it was really wild. And Kasparis has to stay on his feet more. He gets in the air and gets stuck.
Yes, he does.
I mean, and so he has to get better playing off 2 feet, which is true. But there was one play, he jumps in the air and he looks, and Riley was supposed to be spotted in the corner because everybody had collapsed. And he ran right in there next to Ivicic. And so Kasparis is up in the air looking at the corner because he's supposed to be there. And it would have looked really cool if he'd have been there because he had a wide open 3. But again, this is not this isn't like a bad, I mean, it's not a thing. I'm not picking on Will Riley. I'm saying when guys understand where the other guy's supposed to be and how they're supposed to play and they figure it out, you know, that they're going to be so much better. And I really think this team's going to get a lot better as they go down the season. And this is a good test for them. They found out what they do. You know, Brad Underwood's he's never going to say this to us, but, you know, he's going to say, hey, second half, you showed that you can beat them. Now you got to go out and do it for 40 minutes against Arkansas. Well, I guess they got a couple games for them, but you get my idea.
Okay, I have to be really, really, really careful when I say this.
Uh-oh.
I don't want to offend people, but okay, because I'm in a mood right now. Okay, now Brad mentioned the word athletes. Okay, and what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to be politically correct here. I thought Illinois held their own against them. I've had a lot of people text me, and you can read between the lines, Ketter, this team doesn't look like last year's. No crap, Sherlock. It doesn't look like the team last year. It doesn't. But what I'm going to tell you this, I thought they held their own. I was concerned that they couldn't keep guys in front of them. Kasparis, I thought, did a much better job than what I was going to give him credit for. He was able to get by guys. I didn't think that was going to be the case. So all the people out there, the world is not over. This is basketball. The thing that stinks about football, you lose on a Saturday, you got to wait 6 more days. Guess what? In basketball, that's not going to happen. They're going to fix it. And this is a good team. Again, they put up 87 points and they missed 9,648 free throws. Okay? I mean, they really did. So on the flip side of it, guys, you got to look at the growth on this team. I mean, and you play basically a home game. I'm okay with that. Now, what I won't be okay with is if 3 weeks from now, and a month from now, I see a guy out there trying to make an 8-point play or trying to look like Magic Johnson when you don't need to when the game's on the line.
Well, I will tell you what, Ken, you talk about somebody who's losing it. Taterhead was all over the board here. First off, he started to wish that Hamlin didn't leave. I've not heard that before. So we basically know already Alabama's got him in the spin cycle. Alabama's rent-free. Then we talk about Amani Hansberry and Luke Goody would help. But then we go a 180 and then admit that Amani's only played in 3 games with his new team. So I think Illinois fans are having a rough day. But I got to be honest with you. Other than a few of the things that concern me are a little bit of quickness. But again, I think some of that is to what Brad talks about. You know, you're playing a little hesitation because you don't know if somebody's going to help or not. You don't know if they need help or not. But to me, once they start to know each other a little better, that's going to be a good thing. I really want to see more. I don't think it'll happen all year, but I want to see Morez and Ivisic play together. I like that. And what I really like is the way Will Riley ended up with 9 rebounds. I don't know if he's a great guy for blocking out, but that kid, I can tell you right now, he's got instincts for the damn ball, and he ends up where the ball is an awful lot. And I don't know how you teach that. Each of us has coached for years, and we can think of a kid who was always the guy who got that rebound that you needed. So I'm going to put the guy on the floor all the time when I see that. The only other thing, I guess, and I know Rickhouse, it's still early. I would like to see him get a few more rebounds, but it is hard to rebound when they send you to the corner and you're not around the ball so much. So there's a lot of things to digest, Brad. And of course, we hope Taterhead is doing okay.
Yeah, I'm not. I'll be honest with you. I think that I think a lot of people are, we're going to read too much into one single game. Yep. I mean, even Purdue. I mean, you look at Purdue. Purdue looked good against Alabama when they played them at Mackey. And trust me, that's different. If you've ever been to Mackey, it's different. And then they looked like they had never played basketball before when they went to Marquette. Yeah. So this is the hard part about it. You can't sum it up in one game. They've got another game in 8 days against another good team that they have an opportunity to beat. I don't think they're as good as them. So I don't know. I'm pretty happy with the overall with the offense, except because if they make free throws, like Ked said, and they you can tweak a few things, talk about shot selection. Suddenly they have 95 to 100 points, and they're right in this game. The defense is where they have to get better. I mean, yes. You have to become a better defensive team, and they will. The other thing, talking about this defense, I would like to see them have an identity defensively. What is it? What is their identity defensively? Like, I mean, do we know?
Is confusion and identity?
Well, they look so confused. I mean, I'm not trying to be critical of like coaches or players.
It's still early in the year.
In the year. But I wish they'd come up with what they're going to do. Are we going to put pressure on them? Are we going to put more pressure, get in passing lanes? Are we going to play pack line? Are we going to play? How are we going to defend ball screens? And maybe we're trying to defend ball screens differently, and we get confused because of communication. It's possible. I don't know. But the one thing I will say that Alabama got away with, and I bet they didn't get away, and I didn't look that closely. They ran so many big man handoffs with their big men, and that big man would spin his hip.
Oh, my God. I'm sorry.
So, it's like watching Purdue.
Well, and here's the thing. In the Big Ten, how many times they call that foul so many times, and they just got away with it. They didn't call it one time tonight, and there were so many times they did that, which is literally, if you talk, that is like a point of emphasis. is that
except at Mackey,
except at Mackey and evidently in Birmingham.
Yeah.
So, but you see, these are just little things that that as we go through this, and that's where they'll look on film and they'll check it out, whatever. But I do think that was like Illinois doesn't really have an identity for how they're going to play that. They're going to go over top. They're going to trap it, hedge it. They never want to trap the ball screen. Okay, I get it. You don't want to give up a 3 on the weak side or give up a dunk. I get it. But at the same time, I also think you have to change it when they get you in the spin cycle. Hedge it, make them go out, make them take a deeper shot, make them take a different shot, make them shoot shots off the bounce as opposed to shooting threes off catch and shoots off a ball reversal when you just step in threes, because people make those, and they certainly did early.
Mike, and Brad, I want to make comment on the two people that made comments. Number one, about Will Riley and KJ in the NBA. Here's my thing. What we see and what NBA GM see is totally different. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, Will Riley, to me, looks like an NBA player because that's what they look for. They look at youth and potential, and that kid has it. Now, KJ looks really good the first half, and he has it, but he has to learn the game. So regardless of what we think, because there was a couple of drafts ago, I remember 1 or 2 years ago, a kid, I think in the top 15, the kid shot 30% from the field and 19% from the three-point line. They look at youth and if they can develop you. So Will Riley's got a shot. The second thing is there was another person who asked about the NBA offense. Well, I want to tell you guys, one of the things which I personally like about our site, subscribing to it, we talk about that. Brad Sutter and I both know we were with Coach Underwood this summer, and I'm going to tell you, or even last summer, he wants to do the NBA style offense. That's why he put a team together with a bunch of shooters, and that's what he did. And all these people who are sitting on this board saying Ty Rodgers, sure, he would have helped defensively. He really would have. But this team is put together.
We would help defensively. You, me, and Mike would help defensively.
Tonight we would have. Yes.
I mean, let's be honest.
I don't fall for any fakes. I'm immovable.
Take a charge, baby.
Unmoving object. I gotta. KJ's. We forget how young he is. I mean, we remember the second half for Will Riley. He had a really good second half, and he's been fantastic. I mean, he's shooting. But right now, Will Riley's shooting 71% from three. He's not going to shoot 71% from three this year. So it's going to get better. Now, he's 11 for 28. He's 39% from two. I think that'll get better. His 62% free throw shooting will get better. So it'll make up a difference. But Will Riley's been fantastic. KJ has been, you have to realize how much he has the ball. I mean, he has the ball so much. He has a usage rate where he's like 22% of the possessions are ending with him with the ball and taking the shot, making the pass, whatever. But only 12% of those are shots. 12% of shots he's taking. So he's got the ball. He's got to make plays. So he's going to turn the ball over. You have the ball a lot, but he's got amazing, outstanding assist rate. Free throw rate is top 25 in the country. He's shooting 83% from the line, 64% from two, and 25% from three. And he's going to get better. I think, and he's got great size. He's got to get a little bit, he gets a little loose with the ball. He hasn't played against the athletes that he's seeing right now. I mean, he's playing against older guys. I mean, 22. That's why Ivasic probably has an easier transition because he played in the upper league. He's 21 years old. He played against older guys. Will Riley, on the other hand, you see him, first half, he got knocked off. Same thing happened against Ole Miss, but he has been able to adjust and do some things. So I think we just have to, these two guys are really, really talented. And I think we just got to let them play. They're going to get better. They're going to get better. And they're going to be fine at the end of the year. I think they're going to both be really good. And I do think they both are going to be first rounders if they choose to go in the draft, if they continue on their current ascent and improvement.
I agree with you, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, the other thing I think that people have to remember, and maybe I'm getting too grumpy old man here, but in the 80s, you would watch a team evolve each year and kind of get its character. And even the Lou Henson teams, there was a little bit different, with what the guards could do one year versus the next year. I think this is going to be a fantastic year because this team is going to get better as the year goes on, as these guys get used to one another, their roles get better defined. I don't ever get excited about a loss, but this loss could have got out of hand several times, and this team fought back,
Yep.
and they got the game close. They weren't good enough to pull inside that 9-point, 8-point thing. But boy, this could have easily been one of those games where they lost by 18-20, and you kind of go, well, we'll just try to figure something out, because they didn't shoot particularly well. You know, and ultimately, I tend to think this team is going to be one heck of a ride for Illinois fans. The biggest difference that I see is right now, they don't have their roles. And last year, when the only time the team struggled is when Terrence Shannon Jr. wasn't there, and then they had to figure out what their role was.
Well, I'm going to tell you what. Imagine all the teams that's on the Illinois schedule, and they saw them play tonight. And they saw, from a coaching standpoint, if you're scouting them, you just saw a team who Alabama at one time was ranked second in the country, go on the road and put up 87 points, and they missed a lot of bunnies. Brad mentioned Will Riley's stats. I'm going to tell you, he typically makes those 2-point shots. He missed a ton of those bunnies tonight. And again, the free throw shooting. So having said that, okay, can you imagine what those – because Illinois scores points. So these coaches are sitting there thinking, from a fan standpoint, the Illinois fans may be mad, but hell, I got to try to figure out how we can stop them from scoring. You have a guy in Will Riley who came off the bench tonight, and he led the team in scoring with 18 points on 6 of 12 shooting. And then, Boswell, who, let's put this in perspective. The guy was 2 for 5 from the free throw line and 1 for 5 from 3. And he was second on the team in scoring. Making free throws, make a couple layups. I mean, it's a game changer. So I know from a coaching standpoint, if I'm looking at that and with the Beasts, because now you got to guard his 3-point shot, they're going to be a tough matchup. And let's face it, again, people didn't see the beginning of the game. Alabama came out on fire to start the game.
It was brutal.
Yes, it was. And every team that plays not going to do that.
They banked in 2 threes in the first half. Right. I mean, they banked 2 in, and
I think they called them.
The last time Nelson had more than 3 3-pointers or had 3 3-pointers, he was 3 for 15 from 3.
Thank you.
And tonight, this dude, I mean, and I get he wasn't covered. He's 4 out of 9 from 3, career high, yay. But most of those in the first half, he started like 4 for 6. But anyway, so I guess my point is, like, everything kind of went right for Alabama in the first half, and everything went wrong for Illinois. And that's part of basketball on the road, and you're going to have games like that. You're going to have games you lose. The important thing is you come back and play better, and you get better. Here's my concern defensively. Here's my biggest concern defensively. Who would you call a good one-on-one defender on the Illinois roster of 9 players who saw action tonight?
Me? I'm going to tell you right now, right up front, I'm going to say Draymond Gibbs Longhorn, and I'm going to say Kylan Boswell. Those 2 guys impressed me. And if I were going to give a 0.5 a guy to that, I would say Will Riley. Those are my 2 guys.
Yeah, I think Boswell does a pretty good job, but again, he's undersized. I mean, he's small. He's going to have to guard the best perimeter guy. I think he's the one guy. I think the other guys make so many mistakes defensively, or they lack athleticism, lateral quickness too. I don't see a plus defender on this team. I don't see a plus defender.
No, the lateral thing scares me, Brad, because
Boswell's pretty good. I think Boswell's pretty good. I would say that, but again, he's a small guard. I mean, even last year, I thought Terrence Shannon is a really good defender. I thought he and Coleman Hawkins was a good defender at the 4, not at the 5. So it's a different thing.
Exactly.
So, but other than that, I mean, and the defense was really putrid last year. I think at some point you have to be able to guard a guy one-on-one. And maybe Ivasic can guard some of the guys in the Big Ten in the post, maybe. But I really think they have to be a great team defense. They have to be connected. They have to be the communication has to be good. The rotations have to be on point for them to be a good defensive team. And they're obviously not there yet. But I think that's where they have to get better, because you can't just rely on going out. I mean, I remember one year, I don't know if you remember a few years back, Brad just put them out there and said, "No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that crap. Just guard the yard. Go ahead and guard your guy.
I remember that.
Keep it in front of you." Because he just wanted If he did that now, they give up like 1,000. You'd think 100 was nothing because every team would just find one guy and they just go and tack and score. I mean, there'd be a guy. I mean, the number of straight line drives they get are just astounding on closeouts, and that's where they have to. I think that's where they have to improve. And so the communication and the rotations have to be on point if they're going to be successful.
Well, on a positive note, I will say this, and so people don't think that I'm being a negative Nelly. They did outscore Alabama in the second half. It was 1 point, but they did 49-48, and they improved their field goal percentage to 45%. At half, I think it was 40-41. So there's a light at the end of the tunnel. For those people driving home or if you're at the game and you're listening to us, it's going to be okay. I can assure you. We're not just sitting here saying it's because we cover them. Now, I don't remember if it was Mike or Brad. I think it was Mike said this. In the years past, before Brad Underwood got there or early in his career, this would have been a 25, 30-point loss. It's happened. Go back and look at the records. You remember these kind of games. This is a young team. Now, I could be wrong, but I think it's one of the youngest teams in Big Ten basketball. Not an excuse, because I'm not saying that, because they're out there. They're going to be on the court. They're playing. But this team has potential. They just have to fix the little mistakes, and that's what they'll do in practice.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, I'll be honest with you. To be a young team, an inexperienced team, it takes some talent to only lose by 13 to Alabama when you give up 100 points on the road. I mean,
can I address a comment that's in there?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Comment says Boswell didn't leave Arizona because he was homesick. They recruited over him. They should have recruited somebody who could defend because John Tanjay scored 41 against them for Wisconsin the other day. So I bet he doesn't score 41 against Boswell.
Almost every transfer candidate, you're going to hear why they left where they were. It's just, I mean, so I again.
Yeah. So I don't think it was homesick at all. I mean, because his family wasn't here. I mean, so I don't think it had anything to do with being homesick. I mean, he went up. I thought Boswell's fine. I mean, he's fine. He had a good game tonight overall. He's going to be fine. I don't think he's the problem at all. I think he's probably the one guy who guards at least a decent clip, and he's just got to make open shots and make free throws, though, which he's done previously at his stop at Arizona. He shot 39% from three over 2 years. So, I think, I don't know. A lot of times we want to, we want to diminish. I mean, I don't know. It's, but I think he's fine. I think Colin Boswell's pretty good, solid basketball player. He's just not. People want him to be a star, and he's not a star.
Yeah, I think he's a complimentary piece, which there's no sin in that. I was arguing with somebody who was mad because I said Floyd Mayweather was a top 50 boxer of all time, and they just couldn't handle that. And I'm like, look, one of the top 50 of thousands, that's incredible. And if you can't have everybody be the number one scorer and the guy that a team's built around. But when you're a starter in a Big Ten team and you're contributing big time and you've already done that somewhere else, he does have to, I think, play within himself. He's got a great outside shot. If you watch him shoot, his form's spectacular. He's doesn't have any hitches in it. He's just got to make it when he gets those opportunities and play within himself, and he'll be fine. I don't think anybody wants to depend on Boswell shooting, scoring 30 points a game. You're in a little bit of trouble if that's what you need. One of the other questions I had for you guys, do you think we'll see the Big Ten teams trying to force Kasparis off the line, off his line when he's dribbling, in particular, trying to take him over to the left? Because I just see that they're going to make him prove himself in my eyes. Not that he's not a bad player, but they're going to take a look at a couple things and say, well, how good can you do these things?
You have to force him to his left. I don't think you let him get into those ball screens. Illinois really wants to get in the ball screens. They're going to try and get him away from that ball screen. Now, the one thing that comes out of that, though, what Alabama, you saw them switch a few times, and Illinois was able to then post Ivasic. I thought he should have taken advantage of that more, maybe.
Yep.
The other thing they did get were a lot of pick and pops with Ivasic on that because the help going over the top, trying to force him away from that ball screen. When he stretches, then he pulls that defender, both defenders, then Ivasic has that wide open three. Now he's got to make it. But I think you take I think that's what you do with Kasparis right now. I think that was a really good game plan by Nate Oates. I thought that was what they wanted to do. They didn't want to get him. So you see Illinois run him in different actions, though, to try and get him going downhill on the right side. They ran different things, but it was just a stationary ball screen. You saw them jump. You saw Sears. You saw multiple people jump in that lane. And I think that's where trying to force him away from that ball screen so it doesn't create that kind of advantage there, a 2-on-1 situation on the other side. So I think that's effective. I think that's what we're going to do. So he's going to have to learn to adjust. He's got the skills to do it, though. He'll be able to get downhill. And Alabama did exactly to Illinois, though, a lot. What Illinois likes to do to people is make them shoot those little. Illinois took 21 twos outside the paint. They took 51 total twos, I think it was. And this is a team that doesn't like to do that. The 51 twos or was it 41? Sorry, 41 twos and 33s. 41, but 21 of them were outside not at the rim. So that gives you an idea of, they had to take a lot of those pull-up jump shots, 2-point shots. That's what Alabama forced them into. And Illinois has to just get a little better at making that adjustment.
Mike, from a coaching standpoint, the Big Ten, they will scout and take everything away. If it's a non-conference game, whether it be Alabama or Missouri, they're not going to do that. But in the Big Ten, they will find your weaknesses. They will make life hard for you. The only guy that I can remember that's played at Illinois in recent years where it didn't matter what the scouting report was Terrence Shannon Jr. Didn't matter what your scouting report was because he can shoot it, he could get to the rim, and then he made free throws. So, but for the most part, I do think, okay, the frustrating part for me with him right now is this decision making, and that's going to come with time. It is, because to me the talent is there. He had a pass for Ibiza tonight. I don't know how the ball even got to him when he had a shot at the elbow. I don't know. I mean, somebody put it on Twitter, and I don't know how the ball got. I sent it, to my kids, and they thought it was AI. I'm like, no, he did this in the game. So the talent is there. These non-conference games, you have to develop them. And another guy that I really think, and they mentioned it during the broadcast, they're going to need Javon Gibbs-Lawhorn. Now tonight he didn't make shots. I don't know if the injury wasn't there. I couldn't tell you, but that's one guy that they're going to need moving forward if they want to continue to get to where they want. Because like Morez, it's the same situation. He needs minutes.
Yeah, well, and I was going to ask you guys, what do you think Underwood's going to try to accomplish? Of course, it's going to be a crazy day for us on Saturday, as we will have the Rutgers game, and then Illinois, and then, of course, Maryland East Shore after that on Saturday. Going to be a busy, busy day for Illini guys. And then Monday is Little Rock before the Turkey Day game against Arkansas. So what do you guys think Brad Underwood's going to try to accomplish with those two critters?
Learn how to guard somebody. I mean, I think they're going to – here's the other part about this. I want you to understand, if you go back a year ago, remember Illinois was just trying to figure out things, and they hadn't really figured out how they were going to play. Even, we talked about booty ball a lot, right, last year, but we didn't start the year using booty ball that much. If you go back and look at the analytics, even against Florida Atlantic, it really wasn't a lot. It was some, but they posted him up, but it wasn't like booty ball. It was after that Tennessee game when they struggled.
After the Jay Wright dinner.
Right. And it was. And they changed. So they're going to – maybe he's having dinner with Jay Wright. I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, they're going to do more things. They're going to change. They're going to tweak their stuff to fit these guys. And that's what they did a year ago. I mean, Ked, you mentioned Terrence Shannon. Shout out to him, by the way. He got sent to the G League, if you know, and he had 34, 6, and 6. He's basically too good for the G League. Let's be honest. I mean, that dude needs to be playing in the NBA. But I will say that we have to there's going to be adjustments made by Illinois offensively. They're going to change the way they do some things because they're going to find some things on film. They're going to find some things. They're going to look at the analytics. When we run this, what happens? How does this work? What kind of shots are we getting? What's our scoring ratio on, what are points per possession? We run this ball screen, that ball screen, whatever, in this location. All that stuff's going to be broken down, and they're going to look and say, what is a good thing? I find it interesting, like when you face a team like Alabama, who wasn't just the way they defended with their guys. Ben Rickhouse was 97th percentile as a ball screen handler last year. I'm stunned that they don't use him as a ball screen handler more, if nothing else, to get a mismatch on the other guy and to put the other team centers or maybe even a guard in a difficult spot. And so I would think I think you're going to see some things tweaked and try and change some things to make it better. And so that's where I'm kind of at with this. I think it's this Illinois is trying to figure out, and that's what Brad Underwood said. That's why we play these games, is because they don't learn anything by beating EIU 112 to 60 something. I mean, they don't gain anything. I mean, it's experience, yes, but you're not learning about your team and how it's going to react in Big Ten play.
No, I agree with you, and I know that this coaching staff is very, very, very analytical, and they will pinpoint how to get guys open. And one thing I really want to see, I want to see them utilize Morez in different ways. I think they like him defensively because, I mean, Ibises can score, but for some reason, I'm not sure they trust him, defensively. But you lose a lot of offense when you get rid of one versus the other. And it's not like Morez can't do that. But I do think they're going to make some adjustments. There's no way that they won't. I was impressed with, the defensive effort in the second half. I just think the turnovers at crucial times, it kind of buried them a little bit. So, and one of the things you talk about defense, if they're not going to be great on defensively on the ball, there's this old adage where you get this string and everybody's on a string together, and they have to somehow figure that out because they have to rotate better and they have to communicate and talk better and understand. I think this is really trivial, but we're talking about communication. At the end of the game, Brad Underwood was yelling not to foul because why he didn't want the foul was to give up 100 points, and they did that. And it's right now on Twitter, the Alabama fans are having fun with it, as they should, but that's a communication piece thinking, hey, you know what? He's yelling not to do it. Now, from a tournament standpoint, when they go back and think, man, this team's bad, they give up 100 points, it is a bad look.
Yeah, I go back to I'm much more concerned about how this team progresses. So as maybe Brad kind of alluded to this, at a single point in time, I don't get too upset. To me, I want to see this team move forward. And I do think that you will see an awful lot of improvement. And I go back, and especially on the defensive end, there's a couple guys that are really good help defenders. Riley sees the whole court. He is really good, if you notice, help defending when he wants to get in. Sometimes it requires being physical. And Morez gets to his block shots coming across and getting guys. So I think there's something to work there with it. I think, Morez was on a pace for 16 points and 16 fouls had he played a lot of minutes. So he could have matched his. But I do think that they will be I think this team will be fine. And as we kind of go towards a wrap here, I think ultimately this team is going to they're going to define roles. The one thing I wanted to see is, will we see the booty ball coming our way? Or is this something that maybe they're holding back a little just to make sure they get it fine-tuned in practice and get a little bit of surprise when they unleash it on somebody? Because, I'm Rick House. That might be the thing that gives him that confidence, and the man can shoot it, so he might be a really good player for that.
I don't know. I mean, do you want to take the ball out of Will Riley and Kasparas Jakusionis' hands? I mean, your 2 first-round draft picks. I mean, don't you want them to have the ball and have the highest usage? I mean, again, I'm not sure that I think you're going to see some. I thought they used the post more with Ivasic tonight. I thought they did some good things there. I thought he was effective there. So I think they're good there. I think you may see them not tweak things, but the booty ball guy is like would have been Ty Rodgers in matchups. I think he would be a good guy. I'm not sure how Rickhouse has the frame, the strength to do that much. The other guy they talked about was Trey White, but his inability to, and I'm not trying to be mean here, but his inability to pass right now is tough. and is not good. You know, I mean, he just doesn't. He's looking for hunting shots. Just seems to miss guys. I don't know. It's just not
He's
a
thinking
great.
too much. He's just
He
thinking.
is. He's really
yeah.
is. I mean, he's just not just playing basketball. I thought that
Right.
was the one difference when only made the run in the second half. You saw those guys just playing free and loose and just
Yes.
going to get it. So I think that's good. Yeah, I mean, but you know, you're going to play through Will Riley. I mean, I look at tonight. Will Riley played what 29 minutes tonight, and Trey White played 16. They actually, you notice they played White and Riley together at times, moving White to basically playing the 4 in place of Rickhouse because, you know, Kerry Booth was kind of, you know, he just didn't really do what they needed him to do in that situation. So yeah, I think you're going to see that. I think you want to play through those guys though. And that's what I would do, but I would like to see them maybe use some other occasionally, because I think then it allows, especially, I don't know, I think Boswell's better attacking closeouts. As a spot up shooter, I think he might get better looks instead of shooting always off the dribble. I think there's a lot of things they can do.
Yep.
That could tweak it.
One thing I'm going to say is, because I don't want to rehash it for our listeners, excuse me. One of the things Colin Boswell talked about was coming from Arizona, everything was structured. Every time down the court, there was a set play. At Illinois, it's not like that. It's that NBA-style offense, and he's not used to that freedom. Because down there, everything was, you know, A, B, C, D, E, whatever. At Illinois, it's high ball screen, and you read it, and you attack, score, slip it, pop out, whatever you want to do with it. That part of it, it may take him a while. Even though he's played 2 years of college basketball, hopefully he'll be able to pick up on that a little bit. And you asked about the booty ball. Mike, I think if there was a chance you were going to see booty ball, with the game as big as it was tonight on the big stage, if they're going to use it, you probably would have saw it tonight.
Yeah, that's a possibility. So, folks, a couple things as we kind of go through a wrap here. I'm going to have Ked and Brad wrap up their final thoughts, but a few things that we want to go through. First off, we cover obviously Illini sports. We also do Big Ten. You can listen to our radio show, Illini Guys Sports Spectacular. If you go to IlliniGuys.com, hit the radio button, you can find the over 20 stations across the state of Illinois that carry the show. You can also, it comes out on Friday or Saturday. It's 2 hours every week. It's an Illini-centric, Big Ten-centric show. And you can also subscribe to the Illini Guys Sports Spectacular on just about any podcast distributor. We also have Big Sports Radio, which is our Big Ten-centric show. You can also subscribe to that as well. And, of course, IlliniGuys.com is the mothership. For $99 a year, you can go ahead and become a member. That would be fantastic. We have a great community of Illini fans from around the world. You get our stories earlier there. You don't have a paywall, so you get access to everything. And probably the best feature is we have message boards so that you can get a two-way interaction with Brad and Ked. That is something that people love, or Matt, Larry, myself. And we would really enjoy having more people join. It just more people in the conversation makes it more entertaining. So if you get an opportunity to do that, that is great. And of course, for us, the benefit is as the Big Ten is expanded, it costs more money to fly people to Oregon, Washington, and Los Angeles. No matter how many times Brad volunteers, we don't always send him. So we would love to have more subscribers there. And please feel free to do that. And of course, Brad, I'm going to let you and then Ked wrap up. And at that point, we will let people go.
Yeah, I'm probably not as negative as some people. I'm negative about the defense, but I think it can be fixed just with some coaching and experience. I think they had to see this, just like the Ole Miss exhibition. They had to get punched in the face. The start was almost exactly the same as that Ole Miss. They just drained everything right out of the gate. So, but I think they made some progress. I think you'll see a little bit better performance. I mean, I think Alabama's better than Ole Miss, and you saw a better performance in the second half. You saw some things go more their way. They did some better things, executed better offensively at times. But this is a team that's not going to be there. We said this before the season. I think this is a scary team in February. It's not a scary team yet in November, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, this team has to get better as the season goes on. And I think when you have young guys, they do. And that's what Brad Underwood wanted. There are some things they can work on. They had a couple games to shore things up here before they play Arkansas. And, you know, how much they got to figure out how much progress they can make in the next 8 days and just keep growing.
I want to give them credit for fighting back. Mike, we talked about that at halftime. They could have rolled over and played dead, and they didn't. They fought back, and that shows sign of maturity, even though it's a young basketball team. I want to see them get better. I do think they're going to beat some of these teams that's on their schedule. I don't think they're going to lose all the games that's on their schedule, meaning the tough games, meaning the Tennessees and Arkansas. Don't ask me which games because I don't want you going and bet on them and then blame me for if you lose. But having said that, overall, look at the positives. And I know and people will read some stuff read the messages and read our articles. I can tell you right now, one quote you're going to see from Brad Underwood, which I just saw, he's not discouraged. And that's a good sign because there's things that you can work on. Now, I did go to Media Day in Champaign, and one thing that Coach Underwood said, and you go back and you can listen to on our YouTube page, Brad said they're going to get hit in the mouth a few times, and he wanted that because that shows things that they can work on. He is not always really confident and arrogant about his team. This is a team that he likes. So stay with it. It's one game, and the season's not over, and there's going to be growth, and you're going to see players get better. And last comment, Mike, I do want to see different rotations. I want to see guys playing with different guys. I like the fact that, like Brad mentioned, Will Riley playing with Trey White. We can all say we want Will Riley to start. I do too, but he played more minutes than Will Riley. At the end of the day, hearing your name called, it's great, but at the end of the day, it's how many minutes you got.
Yeah, I think as we go through this, I think the key is this is going to be a journey this year. And I do think this team is going to get better. And we're going to see these guys develop. And there are going to be things that happen that maybe cause them problems now that we will see like, oh, they've figured that out. I still think there's going to be some moments when they're going to have to deal with physicality. I don't think that's ever going to be this team's, let's put it this way, they're not like Marcus Griffin in that group. There's just a personality. I don't know that they're going to be overly physical. What I do suspect is that they will learn how to deal with that better than what we are seeing as they develop this season. Folks, this is the perfect time to jump onto IlliniGuys.com. I'm going to go on a limb here. There's no two better guys at covering Illini basketball than the two that I'm on the podcast with. This is going to be one heck of a season, and I think right now is the time to join. So go to IlliniGuys.com, register. You got 6 days to kick the tires. The seventh day that the credit card gets charged. There's some sort of biblical verse that refers to that. But anyway, but on the seventh day, we charge the credit cards, and then you will enjoy that. But I tell you, this is going to be a fun season. There's going to be at least one or two real stinkers in the future here. We know that. But I think the growth of this team is going to make it more than worthwhile. So we will have, folks, we will be doing quite a bit when we have this week coming up here, because we will have our halftime show for the football game. Then we'll have our post-game show for the football game. While the basketball game's on, it's gonna be crazy, but it's gonna be an Illini weekend. There's not much things. Brad and I talk all year on the radio show about how great it is when you have college football, you have college basketball, you have the NBA, the NFL all going at once. So it'll be a challenging weekend, but if you're an Illini fan, please spend it with us on Saturday. We're looking forward to it. So Ked and Brad, thank you so much for jumping on board. And everybody who was out there, we really appreciate it. Share this with your friends and spread the word. Follow us as you see that at Mike Kegley, at KedPrince4, at Sturdy32 to keep up on all the latest events with the Illini. Till next time, folks, go Illini.